So we just smashed a jackknife pizza in our face. It was delicious.
Tasty.
Now we're just gonna enjoy a little sample of double barrel
These beautiful plastic cups.
in a beautiful plastic cup. Yeah, we don't discriminate. It's actually kind of a cool cup to show the color. Beautiful. Anyway, so this is Shelter Point, and this is Leon Webb. He's a distiller at Shelter Point Distillery. And yeah, where do we start? Why don't you tell us a little bit about...
Start at the beginning.
Tell us a little bit about Shelter Point Distillery.
Shelter Point Distillery is a family-owned farm distillery. It's right on the coast of the east coast of Vancouver Island. We have 380 acres of wild, naturally beautiful, stunning farmland here. There's 2 kilometers of coastline, and you get a lot of that sea air blowing into the farm. And I think we're starting to get a bit of a salty flavour on the whiskey now. And we grow barley, rye, wheat right in front of the distillery. So I'd say if you were to think of Scotches, it'd be a bit like Kilholman. That's the kind of distillery we are, like a farm distillery. But I guess the ultimate goal is to be more like Springbank, where we're doing everything ourselves, including the malting. So maybe
not traditional though.
Well,
Like a malt floor where you're getting monkey shoulder.
Maybe not a traditional malt floor, but maybe more like the drums that you get in Port Ellen maltings.
Yep.
So we're speaking with a company in Germany about that, getting those sent over. So that would mean that we do everything on site, and we'd be a true like farm distillery with great provenance.
Well, that's pretty exciting because you'd probably be able to do a lot of maltings for other distillers in BC as well, eh?
Yeah.
Or at least on the island.
Every time you send barley in a big truck to Gambrinus malting on the mainland and back again, you're talking thousands of dollars in freight alone. Like, moving grain is very expensive.
Yeah.
So if we can put on a malting facility here and then be like the base for malted grain on the island, then all the businesses will benefit, including ourselves, because we'll have access to cheaper malt and we'll have more ability to control how the malt is flavored too, with peat or different levels of color and depth, like maybe more chocolate malt kind of thing. So it just gives us more control over the flavor profile of the whiskey.
Awesome. That's exciting. So you mentioned maturing the whiskeys here on site in your warehouse, which I'll hopefully get some video of at another time. But so how long have you been maturing whiskeys in that warehouse? How many barrels do you have, and what age are they at now?
So the first time spirit came off these stills was August or July 2011, and that means that the oldest cask in our warehouse right now is about 8.5 years old. Number of casks, we're currently at about 2,300 in terms of number.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Some of those have been disgorged, so you're probably more like 2,100 in terms of total number of casks in the warehouse. But every time we run the still, it's 3.5 casks, and when we're doing double shifting like we are at the moment, we can put down, maybe like 100, 150 casks a month. So the warehouse is almost full, and hopefully you'll see that later when we go over and take some more video. So we're in the process of thinking about, okay, where's our next warehouse, where we're going to put future casks to mature. And one of our dreams is to actually build a warehouse right on the seafront.
Oh yeah.
So you almost get that sea spray coming in the warehouse.
Sure, yeah. You'd hose all the casks down with salt water.
Yeah, like lick the salt off the barrel, that kind of thing. So
awesome.
That's the dream, and then that will give us another flavor dimension too, hopefully.
Beautiful. What was I going to ask you then? Okay, so you've got ex-bourbon barrels, obviously. What else have you got in the warehouse maturing right now for future whiskeys?
So we've been experimenting a lot with different wine casks from around BC. There's over 150 wineries in Okanagan, for example, so we've been getting wine casks sent over from the likes of Quails Gate, Burrowing Owl, Moon Cursa wineries, and we've been using that for finishing. We've also recently stocked virgin oak casks, which have been giving us wonderful flavour. Our virgin oak single cask sold out in 4 days, for example.
Wow.
And then for the smoky dimension, we've had ex-Lefroy casks from Isla. And we had 187 of those. They turned up in North America, and we just thought, right, we've got to buy all those, because that's a great opportunity to make some peated Shelter Point before we've had our own malting facility and created our own peated malt. So yeah, we've got a nice selection, and we've also recently taken on some sherry and port pipes as well. So that will give us plenty to play with.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And as you saw in the video earlier, they're actually now growing barley and rye on the property, or pardon me, wheat.
Yep.
Barley and wheat on the property, and they're now distilling the wheat and the barley that they grew on the property last summer. So that's pretty exciting as well.
And for this planting season, we will be planting rye, wheat, barley, and maybe oats as well. So that will give us even more to play with in terms of the grains that we have available.
I noticed last night when you posted about the Taste the Grainbow, somebody commented about when are you going to do corn, and I just pictured Leon cringing because I know how much you hate corn whiskey. I shouldn't say hate, but
yeah, I don't want to hate corn whiskey, but it would probably be my least preferred of those grains.
Yeah. Why is that exactly? Just for the flavor profile it gives?
Well, I think the Americans are good at that already.
True.
There's so many good bourbons coming out of America that they've kind of got that sewn up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think growing corn around here is quite difficult as well. We grew some corn, ended up being animal feed. Most of it wasn't really good enough for distilling. So you just have to play to your natural strengths when you're a farm distillery, and you have to look at what grows best around your area and with your climate. So corn's probably better south of the border, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about the owner, Patrick.
He's a nutbag. No, he's hilarious. No, he's really funny. He's a visionary. He's salt of the earth kind of guy. If you think of your boat people, love the water, fire, air. Like, he's definitely earth. Like, he lives for the land. Like, he believes in working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and he's happy as anything just on his tractor on the farm. He just loves to be here, and he loves the land, and he loves the animals.
So his family has roots here on this farm, is that right?
Yeah, he's been in this area for I think 3 or 4 generations now.
Okay.
So they have a real strong connection with the Comox Valley, this whole area, and they've never really left, and I can see why, because it's just a wonderful place to live, naturally beautiful. You can go snowboarding in the winter, paddle boarding in the summer, hiking. It's just wonderful. And then, like, this farm as well is very lucky because it has a huge aquifer under the fields. So I think he said today something like 2 million gallons or something, or 2 billion gallons. There's a huge amount of fresh glacial water that flows down the valley into this aquifer.
Well, that makes a big difference, because for those of you that don't know the distilling process, distilleries use an incredible amount of water. And if he had to pay the water bill, I imagine that would probably cut into the profits a little bit.
Oh, for sure. And like these 2 condensers, these are really water hungry. So at the moment they're pumping 60 gallons a minute through there.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
But we have a free, limitless supply of beautiful water, so we're very blessed.
Nice. So how many employees do you have working here at
Not
Shelter
enough.
Point?
Patrick believes work is a gift. So he believes it's a privilege to work. You're lucky to work, and why would you not want to work more? So I think we fluctuate between about 4 and 5 full-time staff, and that's everything.
So how many? Okay, so to put that in perspective, how many thousands of, let's say gallons or liters, whichever. Do you guys produce it per year, roughly?
Well, we're about the same as Springbank, right? So we could probably produce maybe 100 120,000 LEA per annum, something like that.
Okay.
And Springbank has 80 staff.
80.
80.
80.
And I keep reminding Patrick of this fact. Like, we are probably the most slimlined operation of any distillery out there.
So hard work's an understatement, because these guys, they're not just running the stills, which is pretty fully automated. You can see like the Dr. Evil laboratory type control panel back here and stuff. It's pretty automated, so there's a lot, like, let's be honest, distilling, there's probably a lot of sitting in this chair right here.
The first thing I did when I got here was I looked at the chair, and it was terrible. I was like, you can't distill in this chair.
Yeah.
So I went down to Costco and I blew $200 on this fabulous, padded, comfortable chair. You know, it swivels, it does all this stuff. And, you know, like, it's a lot easier to work hard when you've got a chair like this.
For sure. But having said that, this is a farm distillery, so those 4 or 5 employees are also running the tractors, planting seeds, doing all the farm work too. So every little step of the process, that's a lot of work for that many staff.
The first thing I did this morning was I took all the draff out from yesterday's shift.
Yeah.
And I drove the tractor out to the field there and fed all the wildlife. So you have like thousands of birds and deer all coming together, gorging on this malted wheat draff that we're taking out there.
So in Scotland, they use that to feed cattle as well, right?
Yeah.
In the farms and stuff?
A lot of it is used by farmers in Scotland. They take it away, feed their cattle.
Yeah.
We're slightly different here. Like, we'll use it more for putting nutriment back into the ground.
Yeah.
And we get a lovely...
Well, I guess even feeding the cattle, it still ends up as nutrient in the ground, but
yeah, exactly.
It just passes through a cow first.
Yeah, and you might get some milk out of it as well.
Yeah.
We do have 2 cows, but they're kind of like steak cows. So we're fattening them up for another day. Like, most of it just goes on the ground. It provides nutriment for the ground, but you also get the added benefit of all the bird life coming along, and they're pooping all over the fields as well. Yeah. So you get 2 times the fertilizer.
Nice.
Two for the price of 1.
So if you go on the Shelter Point website and talk about, or you go and you look at the statement about us and the story and stuff like that, they talk a lot about the farm being sort of one with nature, or integrated with nature and stuff like that. And so you guys are big on that kind of deal here at the farm here. You kind of have to be, being a seaside farm on an island like this. I think if you were going down bulldozing all the trees and just destroying the environment, you'd have half of the island down your throats pretty quickly, I imagine.
Well, we wouldn't be happy with that either.
Yeah.
Because that's the great thing about Patrick. He really cares about the wildlife. He cares about the trees. You could probably name every tree on this property. He knows them all intimately. And if I was to take away a Christmas tree, he would know about it. You know, like, where'd that tree go? So yeah, there's a real connection to the landscape, and we want to preserve the natural beauty, and we actually want to encourage wildlife here. We have bears roaming around. That's something that wouldn't happen back in Scotland. So last year we had a mother bear and 3 cubs on the farm for most of the summer and autumn. They're probably sleeping now. It's like hibernation season.
Oh no, well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't get super cold here on the island, so I've heard that the island bears, are very rare for them to actually hibernate, or for very long anyway.
Yeah. And we've got the trumpeter swans, which come over the winter.
Yep.
Lots of Canadian geese, lots of ducks, lots of pigeons, ravens, eagles.
Awesome.
You know, it just feels like a safari sometimes. You're driving the mule through the fields, and it's just like the sky turns black from all the birds taking off. It's quite wonderful.
Sounds like a rough commute to work.
Oh, it's terrible.
So you actually live on the farm as well, right?
Yeah, right next to the warehouse, which is really dangerous.
So you're like security as well when you're not on the clock.
Oh yeah, I'm there to defend the warehouse.
Yeah. Make sure all the whiskey's accounted for.
Well, the good thing about a warehouseman, Dave, is that he doesn't like whiskey.
Oh, perfect.
So he's the perfect warehouseman, really, because he's not going to drink anything. He's not going to increase the angel's share at all.
That's why I haven't been hired. I like whiskey too much.
Yeah. But I do find the occasional empty bottle of vodka or gin around the warehouse, so I think that's probably Dave. Yeah.
Back to the 3 whites and a Goldie, I guess. Eh?
Or maybe it's a special tour or something, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the warehouse tasting. I'm sure there's some logical explanation.
Yeah. Well, there's no warehouse tour without the expectation that one cask will get sampled, I'm sure. But so,
Well, why don't we go over and crack a couple
yeah,
of
we could do that shortly. First, I have a question for you, though. So, of all the whiskeys, so when did you start working here at Shelter Point?
So I started September 2017. So
Okay.
I guess that makes it 2 and a bit years. And when I arrived, there was about 800 casks in the warehouse, and now we're up to about 2,300.
And you came from Scotland, and you were educated at Heriot Watt
That's
University?
right. So I went to Jake. Come on, can we put this interview?
Is Jacob?
No, I'm okay.
That's the distillery manager there, Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, what was the question again?
So sorry, I was leading to a question. So the question for me was, out of all the whiskeys that Shelter Point's put out in the time that you've been here, what are your top 3?
Top 3. Well, I think definitely in the top 3 is my first double barrel, because that was the first one I got to blend and cast together to make an expression.
And that was a French oak, was it? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Quail's Gate Pinot Noir.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That was a good milestone whiskey. I'll never forget that one. Other ones that I really liked in terms of flavour, I thought the single cask rye was superb because it was so different.
Yep.
First time I've ever had like a rye that had a kind of malt influence in it, but the malt influence was from the warehouse. So I just thought it was a really interesting one because it kind of confirmed to me that the environment does make a difference.
It's not just
to the flavour.
fairy
of the
tales.
whiskey.
Yeah.
It's not just fairy tales. Like sometimes they tell you that, oh, it doesn't matter where you age the barrel, they'll all be
Yeah.
the same. I don't believe that's true anymore. I think that's
Yeah, because isn't it true, like a lot of the whiskeys of distilleries from Islay aren't necessarily matured in warehouses on Islay anymore?
yeah. Like a lot of the big distilleries
Yeah.
in Scotland, they use like central warehousing in Alloa or in there. They'll have maybe 2 million casks from lots of different distilleries, all kind of centralised.
Yeah.
And they say, and they're the ones that say it doesn't matter. You know, we're obviously, you know,
Yeah.
defending their position.
Yeah.
But I think now that I've experienced terroir myself, it really does make a difference.
For sure. And
Yeah.
terroir doesn't necessarily mean peated or non-peated. There's more to it than just...
Well, it's like the air you breathe,
Exactly.
it's the ground beneath your feet, it's everything. It's the water you drink.
Yeah.
It's everything that's local.
So number 3?
3, probably, maybe the single malt actually, because that was my first kind of big release, and it recently got gold and best single malt in Canada.
Oh, that's
in the
awesome.
last couple of days, so happy with that.
That's pretty wild. So the reason I asked you that is for this book that we're working on, we're hoping to get some local, at least one local restaurant or chef to create a dish or a meal that pairs with at least one of your guys' expressions. So
Well, if you can make a dish to pair with every single cask from the warehouse, that would be
well, I have to sample each one first then, I guess.
well, that's it. You know, like as a sample, I get some to eat as well. So
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Pretty much can't go wrong with bacon, right? So-
Bacon.
Okay, let's go check out the warehouse then.
Sure.